Oh, you know what? I'm gonna try another trick that I do often. This is such a weird head. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Like, I feel like if it's not already, should be like the official art form of Burning Man.
Wow, yeah, that's awesome. So handsome, oh my goodness.
Alright, like I said, now I'm gonna start going in with darker colors.
I didn't think about this being so fluffy, that there'd be so many little shapes I gotta get in there. Right, I have to draw a color. I do not care. Odd mixes of color. Oh geez, I got sidetracked. I had a story.
Kinda hot mess. In the best way!
What makes it fall? Foreshortened and all that.
But then he boots the dank shit.
I grew up being handsome dork.
I'm an actor, musician, an artist. You're a chaos goblin that will be drawing.
I am locked out of any other layer. And I am here for a live stream. Thank you for joining. Hello, my friends. Welcome to Live with Lava Sub, your weekly art stream. Glad to have you here. I am Lava Sub or Weston. Either works. Yeah, I'm here to do some spooky art today. Some real Halloween themed vibes got cooked up for you today. You're actually looking at something I did 3 years ago, I think. The 1st October I was in Los Angeles. This is actually 2 images. Boop, 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 boop. See? Which is also why it looks pretty inconsistent one side to the other as far as that dark tone. That's actually, it's not the pen, that's the camera. But, so I drew this lich and a necromancer maybe, I don't know. Reanimating this funky undead man. So I've been working on a digital recreation of this drawing for I don't know, collectively a few hours. I put a little time into it. I did most of the outlining, or maybe all the outlining, and I started adding in some highlights. I just realized because this was pen and the original drawing took hours and hours and hours of layering pen and marker over one another over and over and over again using pretty cheap materials, if I'm being honest with you. We have kind of this difficult thing to recreate, you know. I don't want to sit here zoomed in 100% and, you know, going back and forth to try and recreate every little line, right? That wouldn't be very fun. So what I've done is kind of simplified some things. Let me make these go away. So now you're just looking at the blank background. Just fit this to screen. There we go. So here's the basic line work. You can see that I did the what's that called? Barbed wire wrapping around this weird stump they've attached to this creature's arm on the line layer, because doing it underneath the line layer, I was compelled to continue trying to do this in black, and that's not what I wanted to do at all. So I just did it in this gray, silvery kind of tone on the line layer. Here I have, I should go back out, right? Yeah, so that's more wood layer underneath that layer. Here are the individual layers of the line work, and here's a dupe that I have with a little bit of extra detail into the hair here. But I went pretty simple. I could probably just merge all of these, but I forget why. I feel like there was a reason I haven't yet, so stick around to find out. Here's my basic color layer. Oh, come on. There we go. So that's all the base colors. And here is where I've started manipulating those colors to add highlight or shadow and texture. And here's a couple layers we're just going to close out pretty much immediately that are kind of from that background halo, kind of indicating this creature coming to life. And here are those lines that you can remember from the original piece, connecting their eyes together. I was actually pretty impressed how close to lined up, because they're facing, in the sketchbook I have that I drew these in, the lich is, they're not on concurrent pages. It's like you have to flip to get to the next one. So lining it up was a little bit of like a trick of my, trying to figure out how to do that in my head. Kind of was impressed by how well I did with it, ultimately. If you remember but yes, so I'm going to continue going. I'm going to cut out this highlight layer. Or no, I'm going to keep the highlight layer, get rid of the color layer, and pull those images back up. And that's right before stream, what I was doing, I had my line tool out and a big fat airbrush, and I was just kind of giving it a little bit of the start of the background, because I had realized with these images gone, I want this to be a hard black background, and that means our good friend here, who has got some very dark slacks on, his legs will just kind of blend in. He'll be floating. We don't want that. That's not what we're trying to do. Okay, like I said, gonna get rid of those big backlight layers behind our undead buddy. And cool, that actually looks pretty good. I'm gonna try and even that out just a hair. I want it to be bright, but I don't want it to be overwhelmingly bright. You know what I mean? This is just the, yeah, that's lovely. This is just telling us that these are lights, because I want it to be very clear, especially in our undead friend, that this spell, this power that's being imbued to it from this necromancer, from this lich, it's not just psychological, it's physically manifested magic power. It's got that, I don't know, I like that. I think it's like a lot of horror especially kind of tries to veer away from the supernatural elements and stick very firmly in a lot of psychological areas, which I love. Some of my favorite movies are just like that, but if you know me, you know I love fantasy more than just about anything. So you can see I did a little bit of this shadow layer on this leg on top of a layer, or on a layer on top of the base color layer. So we're just going to continue with that, but so we can kind of remain true to what I was originally doing, at least the color scheme. I'm going to just pull color off of the original. I'm going to go back to the brush I was using, which I think was this one. A little darker, but I want to grab this one. That's it. Yeah, I have a couple other drawings prepped for today. I figured I'd probably crush this pretty quickly. I'm not like gonna go super hard on all of this detail. I just want to get this done, basically. Yeah, this is an old drawing, so I'm not like trying to recreate the whole thing. I'm just trying to get like an idea of what it would look like if I tried something like this now, and how differently that would look, and all that stuff. Which I'm excited to see. I'm excited to share with you folks. But yeah, the other pieces I've got prepared are very, very horror related. I have a couple of I've been watching a lot of horror movies. It's the season, right? So I have a couple of my favorite, oopsie. Put that on my highlight layer? Oh, Weston. Put my cross hatching on my highlight layer. I can't believe myself. Anyway, yeah, so I've been watching a lot of horror movies, get in the seasonal mood, and been having a lot of fun. I kind of don't watch a lot of horror the rest of the year. I used to watch a ton of horror, which I'm reminded of every time I look in my big old DVD case to look for another horror movie to watch. As I have almost exclusively horror movies in there. It's like a lot of I haven't bought a DVD in so long, um, so it's very telling of where I was at for a long time in my life. And I loved horror for so many years, and I still do. I just, you know, I kind of lost interest in it. You know, I'm not trying to say it's like bad or anything. It stopped being my thing. You know, I I love fantasy, and I think that's what I miss about a lot of horror. Is that it had an element of the fantastic to it. Uh, and like I said, I still like horror movies. It's just not something I'm seeking out, you know? And there's some stuff that I think is just absolutely incredible that I'm glad is being made. Jordan Peele's work is incredible. I haven't seen the newest one, Nope, yet, but I've heard fantastic things, so I am very excited to see it. Uh, uh, Big fan of a lot of the A24 stuff I've seen, especially what's that guy's name? Did like I can't remember the name of the guy, the director, but did Midsummer and Inheritance. I think I have that right. They're really killer movies. I liked Witch with the double V's. I loved that movie. And those all have kind of that element I'm talking about. I think Jordan Peele's work more appeals to me on like a social political kind of level where I'm really jiving with the kinds of messages he's telling in his stories. Um, but Ben Wheatley is another person I'm a huge fan of. It's a modern horror director. Did Field in England, which if you like Midsummer, you definitely will like Field in England. Both kind of are part of the folk horror genre, if you're familiar with that terminology, which basically is just like I don't even know how to describe it if I'm being honest with you. But folk horror, from my perspective, is a lot of it is based in folklore, myth, uh, even like, geez, I guess folklore is the stories of the folk, right? So I guess like in a way, urban legend is kind of its own version of folk horror, but it's definitely its own genre of horror that has risen more into a prominent place in the last few years, but was always part of it. Another great example of it is the um, oh man, how am I forgetting the name of it? They remade it. Oh, the Wicker Man. I was gonna go into the whole Nicolas Cage meme thing, but Wicker Man, yeah. So it's always yeah. I don't know if like Babadook's. Are you on mic? So my producer said Babadook, and I don't know if Babadook has like a whole like folklore thing behind it, but I totally see how that could be kind of in that vein in that genre, because it's so it feels so much like folklore. And Babadook is one of those movies that really focuses on um, the psychological aspects of horror. I was talking to my partner. We were watching the Gremlins, and um, we started talking about how like Gremlins is kind of ahead of its time, or maybe not ahead of its time, but is doing something that's way more popular in horror now. I would say it's ahead of its time. I'm not gonna back down. Come at me. But yeah, in that its major focus is a psychological focus, like how this affects the families. I mean, the biggest, most dramatic scene in the film is Phoebe Cates' character's conversation about how she doesn't like Christmas, why she doesn't like Christmas. And that scene is the one I always remember when thinking about Gremlins. You know, I love the Mogwai and and all that stuff. But that scene is kind of like in a large part, like kind of the thesis maybe of the film. Um, but yeah, I don't know when the last time y'all saw it, but Gremlins 2 is a banger. We rewatched that movie along with after the first one. Oh my god, I totally forgot how good that movie is. Um, it's such, because that is more the social political Gremlins movie. You know, it's talking about uh, corporate power and um, like that 80s sense of capitalist commercialism, kind of trying to leach into every aspect of life. Um, it all takes place in this super futuristic looking uh, mall or something. Like it's like it's like just a skyscraper with thousands of different offices and buildings in it, but very much ran like a mall in a lot of ways. Um, Yeah, absolute banger of a movie. I totally had forgotten how good that movie is. Remember that thing I told you I didn't want to do? Trying not to do that so hard right now. There's so many colors in these arms that I just adore, but they're not exactly the colors that I want to be. They're not where I want them to be, ultimately. It's just a experience, you know? Like I can see what I was trying to do with a lot of these lines and how they're kind of concave to fit like the shape of an arm, but they're very yeah, there's a lot of color going in there, and I want to simplify a lot of that. So in the inside of this arm, I'm going to do a lot more of this green color, whereas on the like this arm, it's facing away from the body. It's not going to pick up any probably of that green light, so I'm going to stick very purple. Stick with this very purple color that I've been going with over there. Uh, oh yeah, I got talking about all kinds of different stuff. Got distracted. Basically, I was saying I have a couple of other drawings kind of prepared. One is a horror movie that I watched a lot as a child. Image from a horror movie I used to watch a lot as a child. You can find it on the Mouse channel. This was actually not on the. It wasn't one of their wasn't one of their made for TV movies. I think the Bride of Boogedy or Mr. Boogedy and Bride of Boogedy I think were made in the late 80s. While they had some kind of deal with, I believe it was ABC, where they would play um, all kinds of different movies. I think mostly centered towards like family audiences, but fairly inexpensive made for TV movies, all of them. And I can't remember the name of the program, doesn't matter. Mr. Boogedy and Bride of Boogedy are the only two ones I remember or care about. At least as far as I'm aware at this point. But they're kind of a precursor to the Halloween Towns and Hocus Pocuses. Um, they're very cheap looking, and not in a bad way. I love a B movie. I absolutely adore but they do look like they were made for as little as humanly possible, and were carried by a very charismatic cast of young people and adults as well, who really kept this little shoestring film entertaining. So the first one centers around this family moving into a new town, and their house is haunted, and oh no, it's very simple storytelling. It doesn't get more complicated than that. That's honestly. The second one is a little bit more high concept, where like the Mr. Boogedy's backstory is kind of more revealed, and they talk about why he was in like haunting the house and things like that. It's probably one of those situations. It's definitely one of those situations where the sequel is better than the original. So go watch both of those if you're in the mood for something spooky and you got little ones around, or people you care about don't like horror movies that you're watching these movies with. That's one of the best I could recommend. The other image I've got is not even a horror movie. It's Skeletor. It's just Skeletor from Masters of the Universe, because it's one of my all-time favorite movies, and I would argue, I think there's a strong argument to be made that, in a way, those movies, or that movie is a little bit more dark fantasy than it is just a regular old fantasy. Plus, it's got a heavy dose of sci-fi in there as well. You have the heroes of Eternia going to Earth. Come on, how's that not entertaining, huh? But yeah, Skeletor is played by Frank Langella in that movie, and it's one of my all-time favorite villain performances on screen. I think it's absolutely a triumph. He is incredible in that role, and I really love that movie. I could go on and talk about Masters of the Universe for hours. I genuinely can. I think it's a fascinating little movie. I don't know who's into. Let me know in the chat if you're into He-Man lore, because if you are into He-Man lore, I think you'll get why it's so interesting to me. And I'll elaborate. I'll just elaborate even if nobody wants me to do that, because I just am that person. Ultimately, the interesting thing I tend to notice about it is the fact that at the end of the film, and actually throughout the film, He-Man, played by Dolph Lundgren, is never transforming back into Prince Adam. Of course, if you're into the He-Man lore, you get that He-Man is part of Prince Adam. Prince Adam is more of the main character of those stories. However, film completely takes him out of the equation. It also takes out, maybe literally, the entirety of the courts of Eternia, including King Randor and He-Man's parents. Takes out Cringer, his pet cat. We are left with a skeleton crew of Eternians left. He-Man, Tila, and Man-at-Arms to defend Eternia. And they meet Gwildor on their adventure. Gwildor, played by Billy Barty, which you can also see in some of the best fantasy movies of that era, including Willow, playing the High Alderman. If you know me, you know I'm a big fan of that. In fact, we do a whole podcast about Willow, if you haven't heard, called Ignore the Bird, Follow the River. And we actually have an episode coming out this Thursday. It is a new kind of... Yeah, hopefully.
I'm on mic
It's a
now,
new
by
kind
the
of
way.
format for us, too. Yeah, our producer Sam says, if
I'm
it's
here.
not...
I'm here. Oh yeah, I turned on my mic.
You are?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool. So yeah, it'll get there, if not Tuesday, very shortly afterwards. We promise.
Mm-hmm. At Thursday.
Time is a cruel mistress.
And I am but one person doing all of the editing.
Yeah, Sam is a trooper. Shout out to Sam in the chat.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, only W's in the chat for Sam. Alright, so I did a bunch of chainmail, very cheap. Not trying very hard there, but that's okay. I don't have to.
Chainmail is such a pain in the booty.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, especially because I know I want to do some reflection off of it, and I really don't want to get into all of the technicality of it. Yeah.
No, you're doing so much texture.
Yeah, I know. I'm
I just
trying
want
not
to yell at you, Drawfeast Jacob.
That's
I'm gonna
fair.
yell at you, Drawfee style. Jacob, why? I'm gonna be your Karina.
I could only expect... I could expect nothing less. Absolutely. I guess I forgot to draw this cape over here into the line work, so I just fixed that real quick. Okay.
Hey, you know what? That's the beauty of digital art. Oops,
You
I
know
forgot
what?
to do it in the sketch. Not too late to add it now.
Darn tootin'. Yeah. There's so many things I would do differently. That's the real struggle, is that, like, if I did this now, it would look so different. And I like this drawing a lot. This is one of my favorite physical pieces I've ever done, but I can see how wonky the proportions are, and how, like, some of the lighting issues, like, that are, like, very clear and obvious. But that's, you know, that's improvement. I'm not gonna, especially not on stream, spend a ton of my time trying to overwork an old drawing to make it something that I'm proud of now, when I could literally just do something similar and have just as much fun.
The thing you don't like is the thing that I like about it. It's cartoony. It gives me, like, big Adult Swim vibes.
Aw, thank you. R.I.P. Cartoon Network.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what that's gonna mean for my Rick and Morty season that I purchased on Amazon.
Oh, yeah. Damn. Yeah, it's almost like Discovery doesn't care about their customers or, like, art or, like, anything other than, you know,
Well, I certainly
profit.
don't care about educating. That's been clear for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, no education, actually, anymore. We're done with that. Now it's reality shows and profit.
Aliens only.
Yeah. Did you know aliens did everything that we could credit, like, a bunch of indigenous people in prehistory for? Did you know that? It's really fascinating how just aliens did it instead of a bunch of people of color across time.
Oh man, I recently you know that I've been getting on TikTok and I am very new to it. So yeah, follow me, I guess, if you want to. I don't post very much. I have one video out, but, like, when I was starting to, like, scroll through things and, like, have things recommended to me, I like the really, like, the punchy kind of comedy where it's like it points out racist things on purpose to make people uncomfortable, but in a way where they can laugh a little bit as well. You know that thing?
Uh-huh.
So there was one that was going around, at least I saw it a few times on my feed, where it's like this guy it's a comedian, and I did not catch his name, so I feel bad now. But he's, I know, I can't credit him, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
But
he doesn't know you either.
Yeah, he's talking of it's a Mexican guy, and he's talking about, you know how I know that slaves didn't build the pyramids? Because we have pyramids in Mexico, and nobody questions who built them.
Fascinating point.
I mean, it's an interesting, like, way to think, but, like, yeah, I mean, it's like, if aliens made the pyramids all around, like, why are there records of it? It's ridiculous stuff, and it's like, he's pointing out how ridiculous these theories are by saying, hey, this is racist, and y'all don't point out this over here about aliens building the pyramids over here or whatever. Slaves didn't build them over here.
Right.
I'm sure it was still exploitative, though. I'm just like 90% sure that if there was like someone trying to build some sort of large monolith project and the only way they were getting labor was like saying, hey, come donate a couple of hours of your time and move some big rocks if you want. Shit's not gonna get done.
Yeah. Oh, big.
Ooh.
There we go. Just doing a little blending now.
Blendy. It's so fun to watch this part of the process. Oh my god, the whole reason I popped on here was to just, like, to say, like, you were talking about He-Man earlier, and I don't know very much about He-Man. Basically, what I know is, like, the Four Non-Blondes meme, where they have, like, the cartoon He-Man singing, What's Going On.
Oh, right,
What's
yeah.
Up. And then, like, Skeletor voice. And I don't even know if the Skeletor voice that I have in my head is the real Skeletor voice or where it came from. Maybe the cartoon.
It is. It is the cartoon.
It's the cartoon.
But it's partially the cartoon, partially the cartoon, partially Robot Chicken. Robot Chicken, I think whoever does Skeletor on Robot Chicken is definitely, like, going really hard on that voice. And yeah, it's very effective. And Mark Hamill even did a very similar kind of Skeletor voice for his character. Or his,
did he? I haven't watched any of the new ones.
Oh, dude. I mean, honestly, it's weird because Mark Hamill is not even, like, the standout. In fact, like, it sounds so much like original Skeletor mixed with his Joker that it's almost, like, underwhelming. And you start focusing on all the rest of the cast because, like, Mark Hamill's the one a lot of people are going to go to see. But Henry Rollins, old punk dude Henry Rollins, if you love him, you love him, or you might hate him, actually, now that I say it out loud. But I adore Henry Rollins. He's been one of the more, like, influential celebrities of my life. I loved the way that he sang in Black Flag, and I started watching his show on IFC where he interviewed people, and kind of like Channel 5, Andrew Callahan, made them look like idiots by letting them talk, while also getting some really interesting interviews with some really decent people. But yeah, Henry was, like, one of those people that I have always looked up to, at least in that, like, making it work as a punk, that you can still be an actor and have, like, opinions that are heard in a public space, you know, that you're not just shouting into the wind forever. It's possible. Henry did it. So yeah, I was really excited to see him cast as, like, this kind of, like, nobody side character, one of Skeletor's henchmen, Triclops. It's not like a character I even, like, have strong memories or anything, like, from the old show.
No clue who this is, but I could make all kinds. Like, I would love to, like, at some point, like, just get the names of the characters and draw what I think they might look like.
Yeah, that's that's our Drawfee episode when we finally get invited on. We'll be like, yeah, we're doing He-Man characters and Sam's gonna join you. That's my pitch. Drawfee, hit us up. But yeah.
They don't know we exist yet.
Yet. Operative word yet.
I added yet because I'm hopeful.
Yeah. Always optimistic, as am I. No, this is pretty good. I think I'm done. Oh wait, I didn't do anything on the face. I should probably, you know, where the light is coming out of. Probably touch that up a bit. Oh, I don't like that. Go away! No! No! Okay, there we go. Much better. Still not where I want it, but I don't really care.
See, you said you're done, but I feel like you're gonna come back to this in the future sometime.
Well, I said I was done, but then I realized I haven't done anything on this guy's face, and I want to change that up. Because there's definitely going to be some highlights that I didn't get in the original that I have to put in this one. What's my color layer? I think it is that kind of like pinkish. Alright, so we're going to go a little hotter. What?
You need a hotter pink.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to kind of fill with a airbrush tool. Kind of just go fast and not worry too much. I want that green. Give me green! Alright, this one I'm going to up the opacity of it. Yeah, that's too much. Not that too much. Just too much.
It's still too much, though. It's not just much.
Right, right.
I mean, we have to be a little bit extra.
Wouldn't be me if it wasn't. It would be some other art streamer. That isn't me.
Ugh, well, who would want to watch someone that dull?
I completely agree with you. Alright, let's see what this looks like. That's too much over there, isn't it?
That's
okay,
it's a
let's get rid of
lot.
that. It's kind of nice, but also
It's
still
just
too much.
heavy-handed. The spread was good. The intensity was not.
Thank you. Well, excellently put. Good. Pretty good. Yeah, it's alright. Oh, okay. Alright, I'm still not done though.
I think it's just a case of, like, you think you're not done. Like, you think you're done, and then you zoom out and take a look at it, and you're like, oh, well, but I didn't do that one thing. And then you're gonna zoom out and be like, oh, but now I need to do this thing now because I've done that, and now this doesn't look nearly as filled out as the rest of it.
Yeah. That's fair.
I gotta give
I'm
it to
gonna
this
leave those
character, though.
eyebrows white.
Eyebrow game on fleek.
Yeah, it's an evolution. Let's get me some more of that green. Go back to my airbrush. Gonna throw, oopsie, that's not what I want at all.
Whoa. That's a very strong highlight.
What happened? Green.
Here you go.
Alright, I'm gonna use this way. Oh, that's not gonna work. There we go.
I forget, does this program let you do, like, different layer modes? Like screen, multiply, that kind of stuff?
I don't think so because I don't know what you mean.
Okay. Well, you are going to be super duper happy when you get to try Clip Studio Paint.
Yeah.
Because there's just so many different ways to blend the pixels in the layers. Like, for this, I'd do, like, I'd put all of these lights on a different layer, and, just all the highlights, and put it as a screen interaction, so it all kind of like, it blends with the pixels underneath in a way that light more naturally would. It's like a game changer thing.
Oh, I can't wait. That sounds like, it sounds very exciting. My methods are, you know, okay, but they're certainly not the ideal.
Yeah, your tool set is a little bit limited right now. You're just gonna have a lot more things to play with.
Exactly.
And isn't it fun to play with new art stuff?
Yeah, in a major way.
I like the way that green looks with the gray silvery color.
It's marvelous.
It's a really lovely highlight.
I like the purple or the pink on the bronze too. Alright. I haven't done the cape. Let me just go in with some black real quick. Oh. Oopsie. Guess I missed that layer. That's okay. Easily fixed.
Oh, it's not just a hole.
Yeah.
I thought it was just like a hole and it was doing some kind of weird foldy thing.
No, there's just very lazy lines. So when I went to fill the colors, it didn't work exactly like I wanted it to. That's
It's
okay.
like cartoony fabric. It can be ambiguous.
God damn it. You're right. I think it'll catch a little light. Just quickly.
Just a couple places.
Gorgeous. Alright. Then I'm gonna do just a little bit highlight here so his legs don't disappear when I pull the black back out or in.
See what happens when you think you're done. Silly Weston.
But now I am. This is done.
It looks much more done now.
Cool. You know, you'll probably see me go back into this later, but not right now.
Done for
Sam
now.
knows me too well.
Well, I at least knew you were gonna go and add, like, highlight on the chest and take care of some shading on the cape to give it more dimension.
So, this I think I could breeze through in a minute. So this is a still from Bride of Boogity. And It's kind of too blue. I kept trying to mess with this to make it less blue. I think I just needed to kill the saturation entirely and then up the contrast a lot. But I just didn't care enough in the editing process, so I'm just going to do it in the canvas here. I'm going to just simplify a lot of this too. Everything's so far pulled back, there's no point in trying to hit details and all that stuff. But I really liked the composition of it.
It's some nice framing.
Yeah, right? This is the brothers, Corwin and Ari. They're in some, like, I think they're in, like, a dream sequence here. Man, this reminds me of a piece I did a couple years ago for Halloween. It's one of the artist prompt Halloween things that I kind of wish I was doing this year, but at the same time, it's never been, like, so helpful that I feel like I'm missing out on something. Like, it's so much stress to just do it casually that I feel like I kind of have to look at it like, well, here's, like, a job I'm not getting paid for a couple weeks. And that's not what I want to do right now. I'm so busy that trying to think about adding that into my schedule at this point, it just seems... Well, I know it's too much. It doesn't seem like it's too much. I know for a fact that'll be too much for me, and I will not be happy with the fact that I'm doing it after, like, day 3, so...
It's much easier to just, draw when you feel like it.
Right.
Practice how you want to practice. This guy is sharply dressed.
Yeah, he's a pilgrim. One of them old pilgrims.
It looks like what they thought a pilgrim looked like.
Yeah.
I have a bit of a background in historical costuming, so I'm like, this is not quite correct.
Sure.
It is very much the era's interpretation of the past.
Sure. Right.
Yeah, pilgrims had super duper baggy clothes, much more baggy than this. Not a whole lot of tailoring at that point.
I talked a little bit about Mr. Boogedy earlier. It's a fun little movie. What is happening? I knew it would be an issue, but I also did it anyway, is the thing. That's okay. You know why?
I can think of a few reasons, but why don't you say why you think it's okay, Weston?
Because I'll make it okay.
Well, there you go.
Oh yeah, this is like a part of a dream sequence the brothers are having together because supernatural stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. That's how it works. It gets you in your dreams.
Yeah. And you can co-dream with your siblings. Which I kind of, if I'm being real, I kind of am like bummed that it didn't work out for me.
Yeah. You can't say that that's ever happened with me and my brother.
I'm really sorry about that. I was told so many times by movies that it would be like this super simple thing. Everyone would be able to do it.
You know, I think I'm fine with not having to share my dreams with my brother. I had to share so many other things with him growing up.
Fair enough.
Oh! Okay, there it is. Is that an orange snowsuit?
I don't know. Honestly, I just watched this movie and I'm looking at this like, what the fuck is he wearing?
Prisoner garb. He's gonna fly an X-Wing fighter. I don't know.
Yeah, right?
He was really into Top Gun.
It tracks. Dude, the little brothers in this movie are super annoying. They're the worst. They have an older sister, and she gets no respect. Like, their dad and them are like, okay, so the concept is that they move to this new town because their dad is part of this company that sells gag gifts.
Specialized.
I don't know why, but for some reason. Have you read Wizard of Oz?
Not
I think
in
I might
a
have asked you.
very long time.
That's right, yeah. Just reminds me of the Woggle Bug. Instead of highly magnified, highly specialized. Yeah, I would say Wizard of Oz is another contender for horror movies that aren't really horror movies.
Oh, Return to Oz definitely is a horror movie.
Oh, sure, yeah, absolutely.
It's available on
Unquestionably.
Disney Plus now.
It's really good. It's genuinely a great movie.
It terrified the shit out of me when I was a kid.
Yeah, also another great movie starring Jean Marsh, who plays Bab Morda in Willow. We can tie in our podcast another few times. This will be stoked. Oh no!
ABP.
Corwin ended up too. All right, let's see
Always
if I
be
can
plugging.
change this now. Yeah. Hey, kind of worked. Okay, that's fine. This looks awful, but that's okay. I'm just gonna merge these now. I can always delete it and start over, right?
Yes, it's very easy to clear a canvas in digital, as long as you drew on a separate layer and not your original.
Double checking. Yeah, okay. You know, I mostly just wanted to do them and the fog. I thought the fog was really nice.
You can
It's
put
kinda
them
just
anywhere
like-
you want now.
Gentle. Great point.
You're at that point where it could be beautiful art or it could turn into a meme. Maybe it's this guy popping out of a toaster.
Oh, he does that in the movie.
He does!
Yeah. Now it's a meme. It says fart. That R looks kind of like an S.
It's the silent but deadly kind.
Fart man. Alright, now this is a movie called Fart Man. They're in a very dangerous position because they're right in the path of the fart.
I mean, they're standing in it already, kind of.
Yeah. If he's farting, they're, it's a knockout.
That's such an 80s tagline.
Yeah, true horror. True horror is knowing what your friend's butt smells like.
True horror is the constant threat of pink eye.
I'm just gonna grab a paintbrush so I can get some of these funky textures. Oh yeah. Like, why can't I draw a curve here? What's happening? Have on your line tool, Weston, that's why. See, I never said I was a smart person. I would never make that claim. Do not accuse me of it.
No one is smart about everything. You can be smart about a lot of different things, but you can't be smart about everything. And if you are, people hate you.
I try and admit on a regular basis that I am kind of a dummy. And that's okay. I prefer it that way because it's really easy to think you know all the answers once you start thinking you're some kind of intellectual powerhouse. And just look how that's worked out for the worst kind of people. I mean, from Peterson to Shapiro, world is full of douchebags who think they know everything, and they are insufferable. So I would never want to put anyone in a position where I would never want to be in a position where I feel like I have to be right about everything all the time.
Oh my god,
In fact,
I wouldn't even want to be. I wouldn't want to have to know everything. How awful.
Yeah.
To know everything?
I mean,
just sounds like not a great time for your brain.
I mean, I want to know just about everything, you know? I want to be informed, but I know that that's impossible. I know that that's, like, a futile kind of goal, and one that would drive anyone mad. So it's not something that, like, I think is, a mindset I would recommend to anyone.
I am not sure what these shapes are.
I don't know either. I'm just kind of guessing here.
It's just a little guy. Just
like, the thing is it's a... Yeah. The thing is this is supposed to be just, like... I don't think it's a graveyard. It's just, like, a place where they have Mr. Boogedy's... What's the character's name? I don't know. He's got some lame fake pilgrim name.
Yeah, it's really weird because there's like
Herschel
tombstones. There's tombstones on one side. There's like an obelisk behind him. And then it looks like the silhouette of some kind of lawn gnome.
Where are you seeing the lawn gnome?
On the left. Next to the fence.
Oh, here?
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's supposed to be the Virgin or something.
Okay. Yeah, I guess the top half I just see like a floppy hat and then like a nose and a beard. Yeah, that's the hat.
It's got the little...
Yeah. And it's got a bulbous nose and a bushy beard.
Oh.
Like the hat is kind of over his eyes. I guess we see what we want to see. It's just a little guy. I bet that was easier to draw than the Virgin Mary, though. You're adding, like, extra horror into this.
Oh, it's actually lovely.
I had a next-door neighbor that was legitimately afraid of lawn gnomes.
That's fair.
Like, he thought they were gonna come to life and kill him with their little tools.
I wish they would. It'd be so lovely. What a way to go.
Death by lawn gnome. Death by paranormal lawn gnome. I've been threatening to make a horror movie about lawn gnomes for the longest time.
Now's the time, Sam.
I don't have the resources.
Crowdfund it. Let's do it. I'll be the lawn gnome.
You're gonna be a very tall lawn gnome. Are we gonna use forced perspective?
No, that's a good point. All I know is I want to be involved. I just want to be involved.
Well, absolutely you could be involved if we make it happen.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Making horror movies is a pain in the ass, isn't it?
A bit. But I've only ever made them, like, on a 30-day deadline as part of a challenge, so...
Yeah, I feel that.
I feel like if I have more time, it's gotta be somewhat easier, right?
Yeah, sure. No, I mean, it's just like, one of those, it's like, in a lot of ways, it's like fantasy. It's hard to do it well with no budget, you know? You really have to put it into a context that only makes sense for your movie. Or it's going to be really hard to make it work, you know? Like, some of the best horror movies are movies that do make that, like, no budget, kind of model make so much sense and kind of become part of the film. But it's, for the planning stages, it's just that much harder because you have to think about how you're going to shoot things for free, or how you're going to get away with, like, X effect, Y effect, how you're going to imbue a lot of those moments with the kind of let's say intensity that a lot of horror movies kind of like have, you know?
The way I look at it is like, it always has to start with a good, strong concept. So, like, for instance, with the lawn gnome thing, like, okay, what can we make scary about lawn gnomes? And, like, what are our limitations? Because there are camera tricks, there are ways to make things absolutely horrifyingly scary in at least a very psychological way by using camera tricks and clever filming for very, very low budget.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No, for sure there's definitely a way to do it inexpensively. It's just a lot of that does limit your production and what you're able to do. But like I said, there's been a lot of movies that have made that work to an incredible degree. They're just pretty few and far between. Because you really have to kind of like...
The ones that I find the most successful are the ones that lean into those limitations.
Sure, sometimes.
They're like, all right, so we're limited in this way, but we can do this. So we can do this really well. How can we take what we can do and make it work for the story?
Right.
At least that's
like,
how
for
I
example,
tend to approach things.
Yeah, like, for example, Carpenter's Last House on the Left. One of the hardest movies on the planet ever made to watch. Like, it's, it is unpleasant because what they're, and in a way that, like, I think a lot of people who love horror, and that's like that's their vibe, can see how powerful having that no budget, what they kind of step into this very heavy kind of basically single location torture, one of the most brutal movies. And, it's kind of like part of a greater trend of that time of, I mean, I don't want to talk about a lot of the content there. Of course, if you're planning on seeing Last House on the Left, be aware. There is, I guess the safest way to say it would be sexual violence is like an inherent part of the story.
You will be triggered.
Yeah, but it is kind of hard to debate the fact that it is one of the most intense movies you've ever seen, despite the fact that it has almost nothing for a budget. It's pretty impressive in that sense, and honestly is one of the things that made Wes Craven's career, his ability to deliver for nothing. However, it was also his curse, eventually, when, his career was 10, 15 years in the making, and all he could do, all that the industry would let him do, was make horror films. Because he proved he could do it, and he could do it cheaply, and effectively. And it really a shame. I don't know if anyone's a huge fan of Wes Craven, but I certainly am. I think one of the greatest horror directors of all time, easily. Maybe the best. People Under the Stairs is one of my all-time favorite horror movies, and I know Jordan Peele is remaking it right now, and it's one of those projects where I'm like, desperately want to be involved with that, because it's such an important, like, movie in the history of kind of horror films and horror cinema. It's one that takes a really strong stance on a lot of things, I believe, and delivers it in a very powerful way. If you haven't seen it, People Under the Stairs is essentially a story about a kid whose family is going through hardship. They live in the projects, and his sister gives him a birthday tarot reading, where she draws the Fool card for him, and they use this as a framing device, basically for his character for the rest of the film, where he is going through the Fool's journey. And part of that journey is because his family is on hardship. They're about to be kicked out of their building by their nasty landlord. So his sister's, I guess, pimp, ultimately, played by Ving Rhames, a very young Ving Rhames, tells him his way out, his only way out, the only way for him and his family to get out of this situation is for him to go rob that landlord. And upon entering their home under false pretenses, they immediately start realizing the depravity and brutality of these people. That it's not simply just for the people who they're renting to, but these people are horrible, in fact, to each other, to themselves, to the people that they would the people that they raise. It's a commentary on a lot of conservative Christian patriarchal kind of themes, but dives pretty heavily into race. As I mentioned, the main character, Fool, is a young black kid Ving Rhames' character is another central character of the story. And the story, I'm not going to give you the ending. I don't want to spoil it, but it's one of the more cathartic endings in a horror film I think I've seen. But it also ties a lot into different. It's a it is a modern fantasy. Instead of it being set in, I don't know. I don't want to give this away because this is how I would do the movie if I was given full reign to do it. But I've been thinking about this for a long time, and it follows the same kind of structure of a lot of sword and sorcery and fantasy films. It's almost a mirror or a representation of like a dungeon crawl. Our main hero, our main character, kind of gets thrust into a situation and has to adapt to that. Go through much hardship in a single location that they are kind of forced into going into. And fight off these monsters in these with their elaborate weapons and their intense and intimidating armors. You know, this haunted house with many dungeons and entrances and exits, and who you thought was your enemy becomes your friend, and vice versa. It's it's just one of the best horror movies anyone's ever made. And yeah, not the one that Wes Craven gets the most, like, a lot of credit for making, even though it's actually one of his more popular films, it would seem, despite the fact that it's not like celebrated like well, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street or even Scream. It's still definitely one of those movies that a lot of people, especially millennials and Xers and even some Zoomers, yeah, would have seen or would have seen because of its kind of connection to family or whatnot. That's how I was aware of it. It was one of my sister's favorite horror movies growing up. So I got pretty well acquainted with it fairly young, and it's definitely one of my favorites. Yeah. You know, I shouldn't use this tool. I'm going to use my regular circle. There we go. But yeah, Jordan Peele is remaking that movie. I'm really excited about that, or at least pre the pre-Mask times. That's when it was announced that Jordan Peele was interested or in production making a new People Under the Stairs, or remake of People Under the Stairs. Pretty sick. All right. Well, I'm gonna call that one. What are we doing on time, Sam? Okay. Well, I don't know if I'll actually get this done in 45 minutes because Skeletor is amazing. But I'm going to try it lineless so I don't have to worry about all the line work. I'm going to do it with a paintbrush so that I work a little slower, which usually makes my work a little neater. Okay, I'm cranked up on these brush settings. But how do I achieve it? I guess I want to start with highlight. Let's start with highlight so I cannot cover it up. I guess I should probably simplify some things, huh? So I'm gonna go just plain white. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, Franklin Jella as Skeletor. What an incredible performance. You know, what's interesting about this performance is Franklin Jella actually took the job because his kid was a huge He-Man fan. It was one of those jobs you take for your kid, but he got the script and wasn't very satisfied with it. So he asked the director, um, who we shall not name because he's allegedly a bit of a scumbag. So he asked the director if he could take a crack at some of his lines, rewriting them. So he gets the approval, and almost every line of Skeletor's in the film he rewrites. All of the best ones, especially. Um, this is a villain that is endlessly quotable. Like phrases that stick with me forever. If you're not if you aren't aware of Renegade Cut, they do some of the best video essays in the business. And one of my favorites of theirs, one of the ones that got me thinking a lot about this movie, is on He-Man. Is this deep, or am I just really tired? It's one of my favorite video essays, and it goes into like detail about talking about a lot of the philosophical concepts covered by a lot of the dialogue in the film, especially Skeletor's. I think I'll definitely misquote this here, but there's this line he says fairly early into the film. Tell me, sorceress, is the loneliness of good equal to the loneliness of evil? And it's just such a badass fucking line. It tells you kind of like a lot about the philosophical kind of point of view this film is taking, and more than likely, this is something written by Franklin Jella himself. Just what a performer. Geez, yeah, I kind of just remembered. Fuck. Yeah, I was talking about how the director is not a very good dude, but there were some allegations about Franklin Jella recently too. I kind of forgot. Sad. Hate to see it. I don't know any of those details, so you know, we can only hope for restitution for all parties involved. And yeah, it's kind of mind blowing, you know, the lengths that some people will go to avoid accountability. And you've done something wrong, you know. It's not like you don't have to be ashamed to admit it. Like, I think there's a certain amount of I mean, there's a certain amount of fear in um, having to face some of the shitty things you've done in your past. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, you know. I've definitely have done some things, a lot of things I'm not proud of, you know. I've hurt people, um, and you know, anybody has a I guess what I'm trying to say is if anybody has like issues or pain that they're still dealing with that I caused, you know, I don't want anyone to be afraid to tell me about that or talk about it in a public way, you know. I'm not fragile. I'm not going to break at somebody trying to seek justice for themselves. I just want everyone to live good lives and be happy and shit. If, you know, that's going to make you happy, if it's going to bring you peace, that's something positive I can give you, not something negative that I have to go through, you know? It's like, yeah, I fucked up. I admit that. And I'm sorry, you know? There's nothing I can do about it now, but, or at least to take those actions away, but what can I do, you know? How can I help you recover from the harm that I caused you? Because yeah, I don't want anyone to live a life of pain that's unaddressed, you know? That's miserable. I've been there. It was a lot of the reasons I caused people pain, was I was in so much pain. It's not an excuse. But it's the truth, you know? We're all products of our material conditions and conditioning. And I am certainly not above that, you know? Just as much as anybody, you know? I'm a part of that. And my material conditions, things that were taught to me socially and culturally and familially, a lot of those things are really harmful. I wish it was different, but they weren't. That's the reality of it. Is it's there's nothing I can do to change that past except for grow and move through that and not be the same person that I was and not be the people that I was taught, the person that I was conditioned to be, you know. I'm very fortunate that I've had a lot of very supportive people in my life from a lot of different perspectives that have been incalculably helpful in helping me work through a lot of this stuff, from friends and family to therapists and all. You know, this is our work. You know, this is how to heal ourselves and each other. So avoiding stuff like that, just you're missing out. You're missing out on life. You're missing out on the potential life, second life you could give to people you've hurt. You know, accountability isn't going to kill you. But a lot of the time, holding on to the pain that you have can, in a psychological way. And if that gets really bad, sometimes people can't stick around through that kind of pain. So, there should be no shame in that. But there also should be the availability for them to heal from that. And skirting that responsibility, social responsibility that we all have, is coward shit. Take that to the bank. I'll say it once, I'll say it 500 million more times. Simply a part of life, you know. I'm sure I'm not the only one who took things in the their family home, their childhood homes that they weren't supposed to take. And, you know, like, what would your life be like if you were never caught? What would your life be like if you were caught and no one ever told you how that was harmful to them? You know, you steal your mom's Haagen-Dazs chocolate ice cream bars or whatever. She doesn't tell you that, hey, that was I want that. You know, I got that for me because you know being a mom is hard. Something like that, you know, and you alternatively never hear that, never have that conversation about what our wants and our boundaries are. My friend, I'm sorry. You know, I hope you learn. Because, yeah, we need to learn boundaries. We need to learn accountability. That's how to make a better world for everyone. Ooh, okay, I'm happy. Got some of this highlight layer done on good old Skeletor. Oh, yeah, that was a major tangent. We were talking about He-Man. Talking about... Oh, yeah, and then we got to it. Okay, I remember how we got here. Thanks for sticking with me, folks. So yeah, I've been talking a lot about horror movies today. I don't know if we have a huge audience today, but if you're here, you're listening, let me know what some of your favorite seasonal features to watch. I'm trying to avoid horror shows just because I can get wrapped up in those for hours and hours and hours. So I'm mostly looking for movies, but I am curious in all seasonal media. Just drop it on in the chat if you are so inclined, but no pressure. Oh, I think I started talking about it earlier and got distracted. I did want to bring up the fact that right now we are doing a limited run of some T-shirts for our wonderful GM for the Iron Hearts, Captain Zach. Zach's one of my oldest and bestest buds. Zach literally has saved my life more times than I can count. When I was much younger, I was kicked out of the family home, and thanks to Zach and his family, I had a place to live. And without Zach in that situation, my life would be significantly different. So I will always feel a little bit indebted to this guy. One of the best people I've ever met, and he's fallen on some hard times. It's not like not a situation I can really get into because it's not my business and it's not my business to share. But just know that this is entirely outside of his control, and a very unfair, unjust thing happened. And we're just trying to fundraise to help my buddy out. We've got a limited run of 300 Iron Hearts shirts that are available now or soon. Available now. We are getting a link up for you soon. Yeah, this is a limited run of these shirts. All proceeds go to my brother Zach. It would mean the world to all of us. If you would help out our buddy get out of a bad situation. The shirts depict our wonderful cast of the Iron Hearts in stunning pixel art done by our lovely producer Samantha, as well as I think one or two of those pixel art characters are done by one of our players, Sean, who's a dad and has no online presence, but is is a good dude, and his pixel art rips. I've been trying to get him to put more of it online for years now, and he's, you know, he's got other things he's got going on in his life than posting things on social media. So yeah, but that art will be available on this shirt. 300 shirt limited run. Get yours now before we run out, as we will not be reprinting it. And we're going places. So beyond the very altruistic act of buying one of these shirts to help our buddy, they're also collectors. You know, limited run. You know, so if you believe in what we're doing, you know, you believe in the same things that I believe, that this channel is just gonna keep growing. We're gonna be crushing it in no time, and you want to be part of that legendary run we're about to have, or are having, depending on your perspective. Then yeah, get your shirts now and help out one of the sweetest, kindest, most amazing people I've ever met in my life. It mean the world to me, and it would mean even more to him. Had to go to the sword because it's friggin' cool, and I like swords. Gonna hit this other light layer. Should I do it on a separate layer? Yeah, I'm gonna do it on an under layer, because that would be really easy to screw up. Very bisexual lighting here, Skeletor. I don't know if Skeletor is canonically gay, or bisexual, or anything like that. But my headcanon says absolutely. Yeah, the He-Man, if you're at all aware of He-Man as a franchise, you know it's notoriously known as being homoerotic. And I would say, you know, it's hard to say if this was intentional or unintentional, and frankly, I don't give a shit, because it is amazing. It's a very fun show, and the homoeroticism that does exist there, it doesn't matter whether or not it's as intended. Art. What is intention as an artist? I can tell you, it means absolutely fucking nothing. Intention is just a word you say to talk about why you didn't do it right. Yeah, I think especially in criticizing media, giving criticism for media and art, I think it's important to not focus on only the intention of the 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 stated intention of the work, of the collaborators involved, etc., but focus on a much more holistic approach of to the criticism and comprehension of the stories and the characters. I've said it 1,000 times on here, you know, a lot of the problems with film criticism and media criticism generally in this day and age is that we focus a lot on aesthetics and persona. You know, the Marvel movies look great. You know, they have these actors in them. They're directed by this person. I liked this effect or this fight. You know, I mean, the art departments and choreography departments for these movies, we don't even necessarily talk about them, but they're the stars of the show, undoubtedly. The real stars. Because without those people, they got nothing. Because these movies are thin, and they are pathetic, and they are propaganda, in my opinion. But I think if you look at these from a material standpoint, you can see that there is a narrative that the Marvel movies have been pushing since day one. And that is very pro-state, very pro-imperialism, especially American imperialism. And I think this is a fairly easy argument to make, and also just something that everybody kind of knows, whether or not they'd like to admit it. Oh, kitten. Okay, stream's over. I got a kitten on my tummy. Bye. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I had no, I just wanted to make silly. What was I talking about? Right. Film criticism, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. I'm very interesting, as you can tell. No, I'm just your silly little punk rock goblin here to make art and be cute. That's all. But I have opinions, and you will hear them at length, because I'm given 2 hours once every week to just yammer endlessly at you, which, gotta tell you, kind of the dream. Oh, hey Sam, did we get any responses on favorite horror movies or anything? Quiet day. That's definitely how I'm experiencing today. Very mellow. Now that cat is trying to nurse on my elbow. Yeah, he's a little guy. He's the kitten my roommate got recently, and he's still pretty, like, he was a foster, but the before he got into foster care, I'm pretty sure he was taken from the mom like younger than he was supposed to, so he's always trying to nurse on things that aren't, going to feed him. He's a very silly little guy. Yeah, poor little guy. But he's a sweetheart, and he's learning quick. Yeah, I was just sitting here looking at all of this. This is like if Skeletor were in Hellraiser. Like, this is how different it is compared to the cartoon. I mean, Skeletor's costume in the cartoon is basically just like a top harness and like tight pants that kind of look like fantasy pants, and boots and a sword or a staff. Sorry, that's it. That's Skeletor's entire fit. I mean, it's real hot girl shit, but this is like if Clive Barker wrote Skeletor. Did you know Clive Barker's been out since '96? Yeah, I honestly, if I'm telling the truth, I didn't know until this week. Someone was bringing up the fact that, oh, I can't remember. Someone brought up another one of his. Okay, yeah. No, I never knew. I guess it was always kind of like assumed considering the homoeroticism of his work, but something came up recently. Someone was talking about a story he told, and I was like, man, that's kind of like, if he was straight, that'd be fucked up. Have you, I was talking to a friend, and I was like, do you know is he out or what? And we had to go look it up, and found out he's been out for decades. Absolute Chad shit. We stan Clive Barker. Being out since '96 is absolutely fucking based, and poggers, and we stan. No shame to anyone who hasn't felt like they're ready to come out yet. Your time will come, comrade. And I'll have your back against any homophobic family members in a fight. Don't worry. I will come to whatever state you live in and beat up your family. No, No, I'm just kidding, or am I? I honestly, I'm not entirely opposed. But yeah, no, I support you, whether you're comfortable coming out or not. You know, you got to do it at your own time, with your own level of comfort, all that stuff. But holy shit, can you imagine coming out in 1996? Like, just look in to some of the media released in the year 1996, and you'll understand why this was such a dangerous thing to do, especially for somebody in the arts, who would only, I mean, Hellraiser was late 80s, and that was like Barker's first big break, and then he just kept making things gayer and weirder, and it's like, god damn, what a fucking what a badass, you know? You know, that's, I guess, so much of my, like, younger selves, like, media intake was just inherently super homoerotic in ways that, like, were almost like He-Man, where it's not necessarily, like, I'm pretty sure it's not intentional. I'm almost 100% sure it's not, because it was a show made by a toy company in the mid 80s by a bunch of straight dudes. So very unlikely that He-Man was intentionally homoerotic and was instead just given a queer reading because of the latent kind of homoeroticism in the stories. That, like, when it came to Clive Barker, I was like, you know, maybe maybe just jaded. I don't know what you would call that, but like, it was like I was ahead of my time and assuming he was queer baiting. That's I'm kidding, but that's kind of what I'm getting at. Not that he was, but that was what my assumption was for so much of my life, was that Clive Barker, uh, uh, you know, may have just been doing that thing, but I never really looked into it. I mean, yeah, I never read any of like his books or anything like that, so I was never like huge on Clive Barker. I love Hellraiser, and there's a couple other weird movies he made in that same time period that I've seen. Um, they're just, a lot of them so goofy that I don't like think of them regularly. You know, like they're fun, um, but like the Phantasm's fun. I own a copy of several of these movies, but I've only watched them like a couple of times because they're their own very specific vibe. You know, like I was saying earlier in the stream, you know, especially a lot of my horror intake has curbed over or waned over the years just because, like, like I was saying, my partner doesn't watch a lot of horror stuff. It's not like their vibe. And my vibe has changed too, where it's not like something I'm seeking out all the time, where I definitely used to. Yeah, dude, seriously, I think that's a lot of how like Kat feels about it. Um, it's like, you know, we both deal with like uh, trying to keep our mental health, keep our mental wellness up and stuff like that. So, um, adding more tension and stress and uh, violence and things like that to our daily lives isn't necessarily something we're seeking out at this point. I think for a long time it was very helpful and kind of like helping me deal with some of the traumatic violence I've encountered over the course of my life. But yeah, there's a point where it's no longer serving you. Just like with anything, you know, at a certain point you notice something's not serving you, and it's time to move on at that point. All right, well, I didn't get a lot done here. We're getting close to the end of stream. Um, oh, little kitten. Oh, he's a little, but my boobies are sore. Did very pec heavy workout yesterday. It's all chest and core, chest and core. Sorry, I'll try not to be one of those obnoxious people that's constantly talking about their workout regimen on stream, at least, unless I start doing content geared towards that. Would you like that? I don't know if I would. Let me know in chat. Man, that'd be real nerdy. We started doing workout videos on Nerdcrafty. Huge nerd energy. No, actually, it's been really nice. There's a lot of really cool fitness and martial arts content that's come out, or I've at least become aware of recently, in a way that's like I avoided a lot of that content because it's so full of just absolute chud dorks. Yeah, I kind of avoided it for a long time, but there's a lot of people in that space that very lefty, very progressive, and a lot of especially a lot of women that and non-binary people and trans people I've found over the last couple of years. A lot of them do some of the best like fitness content that doesn't make me feel like a lot of those weird bootstrap mindset grind set friggin' dorks get into, and a lot of workout content on the internet. Lean beef patty, it's one of my favorites. I think they're available. They're on like all of the social media. Oh, lean beef patty is absolutely shredded and does a lot of. She has a YouTube that I've been using for. Actually, her core workout is what I used yesterday. Yeah, she does a lot of really cool content. She seems like a very decent human being. And there's also I think Claire Max is the tag on I think it's Instagram or Twitter. I can't remember which. But she's a cosplayer that's absolutely shredded, huge. Just the thing is like it's been really inspiring because there's so many. There's so much like gendered kind of so many gendered ideas around bodybuilding and like fitness that I just couldn't jive with. Like I don't know if I've been talking about my gender stuff on stream. But yeah, I'm like a gender fluid little weird twink weirdo. And yeah, for me, finding a lot of people kind of that are like most of my awareness of fitness content and media has mostly been centered around like men that do it, or men who are exploiting other people who do it. And it's always from a very specific point of view. It's always stuff that it's not my thing at all, that I don't really appreciate the kind of perspective they're trying to put into the world. So for a long time, I just kind of thought working out was something that I always related to, chuds, weird, bad faith, right-wing losers that try to get everyone to be the same shape as they are, not considering, finances or any of the dozens of things that goes into getting like, six-pack abs and stuff like that. It's just often just lies about how to do that. Especially flagrantly false if you consider the like I said, the socioeconomic kind of impacts on how you're supposed to eat 3,000 plus calories a day, control your macros, all on a budget that's working class minimum wage kind of stuff. It's impossible. So finding people that are understanding of these kind of conditions for people that they're instructing has been really nice, and especially like nice to find on the internet where it's free and I don't have to go get a gym membership or anything like that, because that's out of my price range and out of most people price ranges, frankly. Like I don't know. Yeah, but we yeah, it's not at all this the way that I was taught that fitness works. It's much more nuanced and complicated, and focusing on the wrong thing is often going to get you hurt. That's what's happened to me multiple times, both like at different high intensity labor jobs and things like that, where a lot of the time the people I was working with were very kind of your typical chauvinist, masculine douchebags, and would expect me not to be able to do things that they were capable of doing, and make fun of me for it, bully me for it. So I, of course, playing into their game, not being particularly smart about it, would often overexert myself trying to prove that, you know, I'm not going to be pushed around, I'm not going to be made fun of, I'm not going to be called weak. And, you know, obviously this was, I mean, literally damaging to me physically. So being more understanding of my body, and trying to work up towards goals instead of just pushing myself to do something that I can't do but could hurt me, has been a really valuable lesson. And being more gentle with myself in as far as these workouts are going has been something that I am very glad to have been able to figure out how to do. Because even outside of those situations, there were a lot of times where I would be pushing myself with those same voices in my head, ones that I had internalized from people I've met, from friends, family, parents, all kinds of people, you know. Unfortunately, we don't have a very good education system, let's just say it that way. I mean, but around a lot of different things, including our physical fitness and physical health and well-being. A few months ago, I was in a really bad depression. Let me be honest with you. This was like probably May, June. I was going through a lot of stress, and I had been so stressed and so anxious about COVID that and catching it, because I'd already caught it, but I didn't want to catch it again. I got vaccinated and everything, but the stress and anxiety that kind of is inherent with my personality kind of started taking over my logic side of my brain. So I basically didn't leave the house for a couple of months. And it did some really weird things to my body. I got lighter than I've ever been as an adult. I was down under 110 pounds. And I felt bad. I looked bad, like sick. I looked unwell. Not like I looked weak and puny. No, I looked like I could die. You know, I don't have a huge frame or anything like that, but being down under 110 pounds, I, you know, can see my rib cage, and, you know, it was hard to, like, look at realistically. Oh, geez, yeah. We're wrapping up soon. I'll try and shut up about this, but in summation, I have a good buddy. I don't know a lot of people down in LA yet. I've been living here a couple of years, but it's hard, especially because pandemic. So, but I have this buddy who plays tennis regularly, and out of the blue one day he just hits me up and says, "Do you want to go play some tennis?" And I kind of hesitated. Tennis was a sport my dad played a lot. My dad's dead. You know, I'm sad about that a lot. It's been years, but those things don't heal quick. So I kind of have always avoided it, as well as being someone I care very much for and I loved very much, and was one of the only people I could really trust in my life. My dad also taught me a lot of really bad habits and harmful ideology. So I was hesitant. But once I got out there, I told my friend, yeah, let's do it, because I haven't been out of the house in months, and I need to. I need to get out of the house. I can see it in my body. And in minutes after I hit that court, I felt alive again. I could feel myself inside my body. And everything kind of changed. It was like I mean, it wasn't like instant snap change, but I realized that being physical wasn't something that I didn't like or didn't want to do. It was something that all of the context I had ever had towards physical fitness was negative. Was calling me little, was calling me insignificant, was making me feel like I was less than. Um, all of my experience with organized sports and physical education, etc., it was not good for me. And I needed to start researching and understanding how my body works and how it wants to interact with the world. And that's been kind of the journey I've been on lately. Yeah, re-engaging with my physical human form in my own way. So I know we're wrapping up soon. I just wanted to get that story over. But yeah, so thank you all for listening and for coming today and watching me draw some horror themed, Halloween themed art to get us in that seasonal vibe, that seasonal mood. That's one of my favorites personally. I mean, I despise winter. I really do. I don't like being cold. That's why I live in LA. One of the many reasons. But yeah, I kind of look at this season as like the last hurrah before I go into hibernation until like mid-March. I mean, of course, you'll find me streaming every week right here on Twitch, 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time every Tuesday. You'll find me making stuff. Huh? Oh, yes. We might be changing up times, but for now, that's the time. And yeah, so keep watching, and we have a bunch of other stuff going on at Nerdcrafty, including please go buy some of my Ironheart shirts. 100% of the proceeds go to my brother Zach. Go buy our other shirts, our Nerdcrafty shirt, our Ironheart's text shirt. But I guess really just focus on the pixel art one for right now. It's up? Oh, hey. Okay, I didn't. Last I heard about this, we were still in the process. We do have our Ignore the Bird, Follow the River shirt based on the flyer. Oh, it's a movie poster. Okay, we have a poster available based around the poster I made for the Ignore the Bird, Follow the River one shot we played a month or so ago. I guess it was airing. So yeah, definitely give that a look. I'm super happy with how that collaboration with me and Sam turned out. Sam really nailed it with all the text and all the little details to really make it feel like a movie. Made me feel like a real artist. It was great. So that's available as a poster. We have another shirt coming out soon. You'll hear all about it this week on Ignore the Bird, Follow the River. Definitely go check it out this Thursday. And this Sunday evening, we should be airing an episode of You Awaken in a Strange Place. I think probably at 7. Is that what time we're trying to push it back a little later, right? Perfect. Yeah. So it'll be a little bit later because You Awakens tend to be a little bit dirtier. I have a foul mouth generally, but I tend to watch it on these streams. But late at night, you know, it's harder to do with a group of goofballs that we tend to usually have for You Awaken. So join us this Sunday around 7, maybe 8. We'll be letting you know on the internets. Follow our social media so you stay up to date with all of what we're doing. And other than that, just go enjoy yourself. Take care of each other. Have fun this Halloween season. I know that it's definitely a time where I like to be with my besties and reconnect with people. And party fucking hardy, bro. So yeah, go do that. Go do some of that. Have some scares. have some weird, creepy moments with your buds, and have a lovely day. I'm Weston. I'm live with Lava Sub, and your wonderful audience. Good night.